I never once threw or even intended to throw Mike McCarthy under the bus. That's what I wanted to hold the trophy for. You know, you want to win games and do great things with those type of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did. So those are the kind of guys that I have so much sympathy and hurt for.
Are you in favor of curtains?
Yes, 1,000%.
Would you talk to Jerry about that?
I mean, y'all doing my job right now.
I'm sorry. I know. It's been 3 Dallas Cowboys videos in a 9-day span. You can't really blame me. There's a lot going on about this team, and the story just keeps getting sadder and sadder. But I promise you, we have more content than just Dallas Cowboys content for this channel, especially this week given what happened over the past weekend in the NFL. So before we get to the content, we are on the grind to 1 million subscribers. We're about 28,000 subscribers away from reaching that goal. So if you guys enjoy the latest and greatest NFL news straight to your device, make sure you subscribe and turn on our notifications to help us get there. Now that we get all that out of the way, so Stephon Diggs is out for the season, and the Houston Texans were without Nico Collins on Sunday Night Football when they faced off against the Detroit Lions, which meant that Tank Dell was going to see more targets. The problem? I had no idea who the Texans wide receiver 2 was going to be, which made it very difficult to project receiving yards at the very beginning of the game. Now, as Sunday Night Football started, we saw John Mechie explode for over 65 receiving yards in the beginning, so at halftime, I decided to take advantage of this. I went on PrizePicks to check his live projection and saw that he only needed 6 more receiving yards in the second half for his square to hit. And based off of the flow of the game, you didn't need to be a genius to know this was going to work. So I also saw that David Montgomery only needed 15 more rush yards in the second half for his square to hit. So I decided to test the waters with my first live pick and made an easy $60. Now, if you want to take advantage of this brand new feature, make sure you download PrizePicks and use my promo code Mikerophone to get a free $50 when you make a play of $5 or more. And if you followed me on Instagram, you would have seen this projection on my story. But since it's a live projection, I highly recommend turning on my story notification so you get them immediately. And thank you, PrizePicks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I don't think you really need to be a genius to know this past weekend that the Dallas Cowboys were going to get spanked on TV. A matchup that is typically circled for Cowboys fans on the calendar is the matchup versus the Philadelphia Eagles. But this time things were significantly different. I mean, the Cowboys were terrible going into this game. I mean, even with Dak Prescott under center, I wasn't really expecting the Cowboys to do much, and it appears as though Jerry Jones wasn't either.
We've won 3 games with Dak. Okay, so I'm just saying, we weren't playing well with Dak at all. I thought that basically we'd look better tonight without Dak. I thought we'd look better on offense than we looked without Dak. Seen Cooper play better than we played tonight. Philadelphia's got a lot to do with that. That's what it is.
So pretty much Jerry Jones and a small minutia of Dallas Cowboy fans expected Cooper Rush to come in and be significantly better than Dak Prescott. Now, if you're an individual that's wondering why the hell would the backup QB be better than the starting QB, is because in the beginning of the 2022 season, Dak Prescott injured himself once again. This thrusted in Cooper Rush as the starter for a 5-game span. And during those 5 games, he performed very admirably. The Cowboys went 4-1 with Cooper Rush under center, with him throwing 5 touchdowns to 3 interceptions and also completing 58% of his passes. But this was also a season where the Dallas Cowboys had one of the best defenses in the NFL and a rushing attack that Cooper Rush could also depend upon. Things were significantly different for the Cowboys this season, and we've been saying this over and over again on this channel. After an offseason where Jerry Jones said this:
all in. All in, all in. We're all in with these young guys coming up. We're all in with knowing that you have to go.
The Cowboys didn't really do much except lose players and pay for their existing talent. And this is just something that NFL teams need to deal with from time to time. Whenever you're a team like the Dallas Cowboys, who have drafted remarkably over the past couple of seasons, I will admit, eventually you need to pay for that premium talent. But unfortunately for the Dallas Cowboys, they don't really do it in an intelligent manner. Jerry Jones likes to play poker in the most unnecessary moments of the season. Like, if you take a look at all the major contract extensions, they were either done done very, very early, late in the summer, like Trevor Lawrence's contract extension or Jordan Love's contract extension, or they were done by April. Players like Jared Goff or Amon-Ra St. Brown or AJ Brown or Penei Sewell. You typically do this to make sure players don't hold out going into training camp. And in the case of the Cowboys, there was a major holdout in training camp. CeeDee Lamb didn't show up until late in camp, where the Cowboys finally decided to come to terms on a contract extension in August. So this obviously does have an effect on team chemistry. That coupled with the fact that the Cowboys lost their entire identity on defense. I mean, this is a team that lost Dorrance Armstrong, Neville Gallimore, Dante Fowler, Stephon Gilmore, Jaron Kearse, and then offensively they lost Tyron Smith, and they also lost Dan Quinn. You didn't really need to be a genius to figure out that this was going to be a bit of a transition year for the Cowboys. Now, there were moments where the Cowboys could have done something splashy, like sign Derrick Henry, but the Cowboys said that they couldn't afford Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry didn't fit because principally of managing the cap in anticipation of the players that we were going to sign weeks later, or anticipation of the players we're going to be signing in the future.
But Derrick Henry was interested in joining the Cowboys, but the Cowboys didn't even call Derrick Henry.
Did Dallas pick up the phone? Were they involved in the Derrick Henry sweepstakes?
Dallas didn't even, not at all, know what's going on over there, and but they weren't nicking 10. The Cowboys never called at all.
Wow, never even picked up the phone. Now, were they on your radar as you're going through the process, or did that surprise you? I'm stunned hearing that the Cowboys never even picked up the phone.
That's a great organization, and I mean, it's been a great opportunity, but I'm thankful that I ended up here in Baltimore, somewhere I wanted to be.
This is just an embarrassing season. I mean, in the very beginning of the season, Dak Prescott was trying to come up with a montage moment when he said this. Only to be caught on national TV saying we suck just a week ago. So going into this game, at this point, you didn't need to be a genius to realize that there's no hope for the Cowboys making the playoffs, and that's okay. I kind of went into the season expecting us to be an 8-9 team at the very best. The problem is that the Cowboys currently have the 24th most cap space in the NFL, and that's before they need to re-sign Micah Parsons. But if you think their roster issues are their only problem, you should see how players feel about the Cowboys currently. I mean, one of the biggest moves the Cowboys made in the offseason was signing CeeDee Lamb to the second highest contract for a wide receiver in the NFL. Obviously a very key part of the offense. But the crazy thing is, whenever you play at Jerry World, for some reason Jerry Jones constructed the stadium with a very major design flaw. The sun literally goes into players' eyes as they're playing for Jerry Jones. You can see CeeDee Lamb clearly struggling to make this reception, but that's not even the craziest part. The craziest part is when CeeDee Lamb implied that this is a problem and needs to change. Jerry Jones' reaction was crazy. Okay, so the back and forth between CeeDee Lamb and the reporter was,
Are you in favor of curtains?
Yes, 1,000%.
Would you talk to Jerry about that?
I mean, y'all doing my job right now.
Now, Jerry Jones' reaction to this is just insane. A frustrated Jerry Jones had some comments about the sun impacting the play at AT&T Stadium.
By the way, we know where the sun's going to be when we decide to flip the coin or not. So we do know where the damn sun's going to be in our own stadium.
The reporter asks, why not put up curtains over the windows? And Jerry responds by saying, well, let's tear the damn stadium down and build another one. Are you kidding me? Everybody has got the same thing. Every team that comes in here has the same issues. I'm saying the world knows where the sun is. You get to know that almost a year in advance. Someone asked me about the sun. What about the sun? Where's the moon? Just such a weird hill to die on, to be honest. Like, his players are saying this is clearly an issue, and this isn't the first time we dealt with it. Dak Prescott has had this issue multiple times when the sun is facing his eyes as he's trying to find CeeDee Lamb. So pretty much you have to make a choice. Either the sun is straight in your quarterback's eyes as he's trying to find his receivers, or the sun is in your receiver's eyes as he's trying to make the reception. I mean, it's like such a Cowboys thing to happen. Fans are really fed up. I mean, fans are fed up with everything, with the not signing of Derrick Henry, with this design flaw in the stadium. I personally was a little fed up with the fact that we traded traded so much to get Jonathan Mingo, and a lot of fans were saying,
"But Mike, he was a second-round pick last year, and he's still on a rookie-scale contract."
And although that might be true, it's still an overpay for a player that hasn't contributed much this season, especially when you consider that that 4th-round pick is an early 4th-round pick, which means it's pretty much a late 3rd-round pick for a player that was a 2nd-round pick that hasn't produced so far. Regardless, wide receivers that have been acquired in a mid-season trade have done a remarkable job this year. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs traded for DeAndre Hopkins, and he scored in his 2nd game. Buffalo Bills traded for Amari Cooper, and he scored in his 1st game with the team. The Pittsburgh Steelers traded for Mike Williams, and he scored in his 1st game with the team. The Dallas Cowboys traded for Jonathan Mingo, and he was inactive that week. Mind you that all of these teams gave up way less capital for their receiver, and the Cowboys needed a halfback, not a wide receiver. It's just such a disaster. This is such a failure on multiple levels. I mean, the Cowboys at some point had Cooper Rush in the game, then they decided to put Trey Lance in, and me being the delusional Cowboy fan on X, I was just shitposting all over X, messing around how Trey Lance is the Cowboys' final hope, but literally 20 seconds later, Trey Lance gets yanked out for Cooper Rush again. This brings us to the main part of the video, and honestly the main factor of why I decided to make this video today, and that's what Micah Parsons had to say in regards to his head coach, Mike McCarthy. Now, look, I wanted to preface this by saying that in the past, I felt like Mike McCarthy may have been the issue for the Dallas Cowboys, but this year, I don't think that's the case. I think you give any team this roster and they would have had a similar issue. The Cowboys have always historically had great rosters. It was just the management around those rosters and the coaching around those rosters that held them back from winning a Super Bowl, and that's just me being objective. I've said this multiple times. Last year's team was capable of potentially winning a Super Bowl. Yes, our running game was a little weak, but in terms of our defense and our offense, if we had the right game plan together, which we didn't because Mike McCarthy isn't necessarily the greatest at game planning, then I felt like this team was talented enough to win a Super Bowl. I felt very similarly about this the year before, but I knew coming into this year that wasn't going to be the case, especially with all the key pieces that we lost, especially the fact that we lost our identity. And it seems like reality is really setting in for Micah Parsons, who had this to say about his coach.
Mike's on the final year of his contract, so outside there's of course going to be questions. What's the sentiment inside the locker room, and what do you tell people who are wondering about whether McCarthy will be your coach next year?
You know, that's above my pay grade about if Mike is coaching again next year. But, you know, all coaching aside, coaching, you know, Mike can leave and go wherever he wants. But the guys, I kind of feel bad for guys like Zach Martin and guys who might be on their last year on their way out, you know, because that's what I wanted to hold the trophy for. You know, you want to win games and do great things with those type of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did. So those are the kind of guys that I have so much sympathy and hurt for.
I'm not a big fan of taking things and twisting it out of context and sensationalizing it, because if you just read the transcript of this interview, then you would think that Micah Parsons is saying that
Mike McCarthy can leave and go wherever he wants, and I don't care. I just care about Zach Martin.
But what he's really trying to say here is Mike McCarthy can potentially get a job after this if he was to get fired, and he can continue to have a career in the NFL. But it's legendary players like Zach Martin who may be on their final opportunity to play meaningful football and potentially win a Super Bowl. Mike McCarthy can theoretically go to another team and attempt to win a Super Bowl as a head coach, but Zach Martin can't. That's the way I took this. But of course, you know, the mainstream media, they're gonna take this narrative, especially considering Mike McCarthy's job security and the fact that the Cowboys haven't been good this year, and start suggesting some wild stuff like this.
I think he is talking like that after a game. Bro, you've been missing all these games with the injury. Last time I checked, the head coach is a Super Bowl winning coach. And I know the season hasn't gone the way that everyone is expected to go and all that, but for you to sit there in the locker room right after your team gets pummeled and to just undress your head coach in that manner, you know, spout and say all this type of stuff. There used to be a time when there was a little bit of respect, a little decorum in the locker room, because at the end of the day, it was about we didn't do enough. Okay, you gonna go out here and talk about your head coach, Basically, your head coach not working, not doing anything to try to prepare the team. I just think it's a bunch of BS, man. I really do.
And this is my favorite part about the mainstream media, because you can tell based off these takes, they didn't actually watch the video. They probably got like a transcript and saw what Micah Parsons said. It's like,
oh my God, Micah Parsons is asking for his coach to leave.
Which I think is the problem with mainstream media nowadays. I mean, Rex Ryan really goes in on this on Get Up.
That's total BS. You're exactly right. And look, coaches are there at some days 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
For 2 or 3 days at least during the week. The hours they put in it's unmatched. Mike McCarthy, he doesn't deserve this damn comment. No coach does. Look, there's some horrible coaches out there, but none of them deserve this. The kind of work that they put in as coaches, like most players know that these dudes, you can forget about it. You're giving up family time. You're giving up all kinds of stuff in your life. Sitting back, I don't care how talented he is. That is absolutely BS. If you would work half as freaking hard as a damn coach does, maybe you'd be able to play every damn game. Maybe your team wouldn't just be a bunch of punks and lay it down every damn week like you're doing. How about being a damn football team? You're going to sell your damn coach out? It's a crock of you know what?
Yes.
And again, I think this is just them reading a transcript of what happened. But in this particular case, you needed to watch the video of Micah Parsons' comments to get the full context on the situation.
Say that I'm just missing games because of injury, like it's just some injury after I suffered a significant injury playing the game that we love. Someone who's been around teams and legends at that can say, like, that's how I know we all have to see through the BS of what these TV analysts are trying to do and, provide us and basically take words. I never once threw or even intended to throw Mike McCarthy under the bus. Like I said, he's one of the most winningest coach. He is a Super Bowl champ. I never once brung up his past. And the question that was asked was about here in the Dallas Cowboys, did I see Mike McCarthy in our future? And I said, that's above my pay grade.
Because then Rex Ryan takes that and proposes a wild idea.
No, look, and here's the crazy thing. Look, they got to restart, but they got to do something that, in my opinion, like, how are you going to fix it? Well, I look at a couple of teams recently. All right, I look at the Lions. Who'd they hire? One of their former players.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
Okay. How about the Houston Texans?
Former
right
player.
down the road. Former player, one of their former players.
D'Amico Ryans.
Ryans. All right. I can see Aaron Glenn going to New Orleans next year. All right. Or the Jets. A former player. All right. Deion Sanders may be in play here. And I'm going to tell you, they need something. They need to have somebody that has the pride in that damn organization. Being a Dallas Cowboy, the pride you take in it. And by the way, Deion, everywhere he's been, has been kicking you know what. Mm-hmm. All right, Jackson State, they were unbelievable when he was there. He takes Colorado. Right now, they're 7-2. Nobody saw that coming. They're playing in the big, whatever, the damn
Big 12,
now.
yeah.
As a content creator and not a Cowboy fan, do I want Deion Sanders as the next coach of the Dallas Cowboys? Absolutely. You know how much content I'd be able to make on that? It'd be a gigantic dumpster fire, and it's the most Jerry Jones thing ever. You know what? Screw it. We just paid Dak Prescott the most money in NFL history. The man's gonna have a dead cap hit of $151 million next year if we decide to cut him. But yeah, let's try to tank and draft Shedeur Sanders and bring in primetime because, hey, at least he'll sell jerseys and it'll be good for ratings. Let's forget about the fact that we have multiple holes on this team and now we have no defensive identity at all because we lost our best players last offseason to the Washington Commanders and we lost our defensive coordinator last year to the Washington Commanders. And we have a rookie protecting Dak Prescott's blind side. And let's just try to fix this and throw a band-aid on the team by bringing in Deion and Shedeur Sanders? Look, man, at this point, the Dallas Cowboys just dug themselves into a very deep hole. They have money committed to Dak and CD, and eventually they're going to have money committed to Micah Parsons. And I really just hope that they don't make the Micah Parsons situation way worse than it is. I mean, at least sign him to an extension and then trade him for multiple first-round picks if you're going to do any of that, because we're entering the territory where the Dallas Cowboys are in such grave danger that they need to start considering moving on from their best players and consider a full-scale rebuild. The window of opportunity for success has officially shut, but they have some very good players offensively and defensively. I mean, you could easily get a first-round pick for CeeDee Lamb. You could easily get multiple first-round picks for Micah Parsons. In the meantime, you could have Dak Prescott under center, pay him out as you try to make the team younger around him. This isn't a team that is one piece away anymore. There's so many pieces that need to be fixed in order to have success. I don't think a flashy draft pick in the offseason is going to save them either. I don't think Travis Hunter is going to save them. I feel like this is a team that has so many holes, both offensively and defensively, has a minor issue in coaching and a major issue in management, and there's really no way to fix all of that in one offseason. We had a really good chance over the past couple of years in the Dak Prescott era. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get it done. And now, unfortunately, I think things are about to go from bad to worse. Hopefully, this is the last video I have to make on this. They just keep coming up with brand new revolutionary ways to get me behind the microphone to talk about the bizarre crap that they're doing. So if you're not a Cowboy fan, or if you're sick of hearing about the Dallas Cowboys, from the bottom of my heart, my apologies. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below, because we may have found out what team Shedeur Sanders actually wants to go to, and it's not the Dallas Cowboys. I'll leave a link to it in the end screen, and I'll meet you guys there. I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.